Let me see here. Hello, everyone, and welcome back as I try to figure out exactly. Ah, there it goes. Okay, much better there. Much better. Let's see here. It has been a while since my last live stream, and all of a sudden, I have forgotten what does what here. Okay. Oh, that sounds okay. That's good. All right. I think everything is good. I am alive. It has been, oh, I don't know how long, a month or so since my last live stream. Things being as they are, my things I do away from YouTube are ever so crazy. But anyway, as you can probably figure out tonight, I am going to do some random TV talk. Nothing really planned. Okay, there we go. There we go. That's good. That's good. Yep. A random stream of TV talk, namely my impressions of Daredevil Born Again on Disney. I was quite anticipating this. I had actually spent the past 2, maybe 3 weeks binging the first 3 seasons of the Netflix Daredevil, getting my way through that and thoroughly enjoying it. It's hard to really criticize the Netflix Daredevil. It is so good on so many levels. I'll talk about it a little bit more when I start comparing and contrasting Disney's stab at Daredevil. Don't know if that's a good choice of words, but what they do with the TV show, in my view, leaves a lot to be desired. I mean, Daredevil season 1 on Netflix was put near perfect. I mean, if you want to talk about a good or a great implementation, if you will, of the superhero genre on TV, I mean, how do you translate it from comic book page to small screen? Daredevil season 1 is great. I mean, that fires on all cylinders. Everything about that show is great. I love the character dynamics, the writing, the pacing, just enough of exposition so we get a little backstory into the character of Matt Murdock, also known as Daredevil. We get a little bit of his history, how he came to be, how the character became blind, how the character learned to fight, uses other senses, and then over time became Daredevil. I mean, this is what all other superhero type TV shows should be. The plot pacing, the character development, character depth. I love every bit of writing in the first 3 seasons of Daredevil. I mean, like I said, it's hard to find a point in the show. When I was rewatching it recently, the past 3 weeks, it was really hard to find a point where I could criticize it. The story, I just love the character dynamics between Matt Murdock, Karen, Foggy. Those 3 characters, the main 3 characters, great dynamic. I never once felt like, okay, he's the main character and the other 2 are just relegated to supporting character roles. No, they each have their own time in the spotlight. And I can really appreciate that, especially when you're spending so much time developing the characters, making them feel like they have the depth to them, making it feel like they really are close friends. I just love the first 3 seasons. It's incredible to think what they pulled off with what Netflix did with that. I kept watching that, rewatching it rather, before I started Born Again. I kept thinking, man, I really wish Arrow, the CW's Arrow or Green Arrow, was as good as Daredevil season 1. I mean, for a street level vigilante type superhero character, Green Arrow could have gone far with this type of treatment. They could have worked on so many of your not super powered superheroes, but more of the down to earth, shall we say, characters that don't necessarily have superpowers. Oh, and the chat, I see. Hello, and the chat. First out of the gate, Jason Fox from 5-4 Studios. Hello, and thank you for joining me tonight. Good to see you here. As he's saying, Born Again to me is not good. I think first 2 episodes well done. Yeah, I'm going to get into that tonight because I'm going to be contrasting the Disney attempt at Daredevil. And he's saying it's like watching 2 series because of reshoots. I feel a big disconnect in the story and pacing. Yes. Born Again is not good. Yep. Agreed. Of course, I should say at this point, spoilers for anybody out there who has not taken the time to see Born Again. I will be talking about some things that happen in the show, some things that honestly annoyed me to no end. There was, oh goodness, how to say. Well, let's just start right off with the first episode of Daredevil Born Again. We have a nice, familiar feel to it. We have the 3 main characters of Matt, Foggy, and Karen hanging out at their local dive bar, enjoying the company of and whatnot, enjoying the evening. Events transpire. The bar comes under attack. There's absolutely no rhyme or reason to this. There's no setup, no reason why the bar would be attacked. All in all, it was a big ruse to get Foggy out on the street, outdoors, where he is brutally murdered. Absolutely makes no sense and did a thoroughly good job of just ticking me right off. How do you destroy character dynamics that you spent 3 seasons building up? I mean, not only does the death of Foggy affect Matt Murdock / Daredevil, it affects Karen as well. I mean, you took a perfectly excellent trio of characters, tight knit friends, good solid characters, and you destroyed the character dynamic right there, just gone, poof. Not to mention that Foggy was like the viewing audience. I mean, he was a very relatable character, a nice opposing character to Matt / Daredevil. He could have been a stand-in, or was a stand-in, I felt, for the viewing audience. We could watch the show, watch the dynamic between Foggy and Matt, especially during the part in the Netflix show where Foggy found out who Matt was. Like, oh, my best friend in the world is a caped vigilante or hooded cowed vigilante taking to the streets and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. That dynamic right there was fantastic, and I think it was needlessly wasted. There's no point to having that character killed off in that manner. That was a huge blow to the show, I believe. Let's see. I'm going to move forward from that because I'm trying to compose my thoughts here, going over this show, finishing off, well, catching up to Daredevil Born Again last night, and then thinking about all the little things I felt was off between the Netflix take and the Disney take. Born Again is a disjointed, uneven show. I like their attempt at it. I like that they're trying something new. But you get the sense that they don't exactly know where to take the show. It's like, okay, guys, where are you going with this? Let me change graphics here from my title screen to Daredevil Born Again. I felt so lost on this because the show was meandering. It, I came across an article. I couldn't find it for tonight's live stream, but last week there was an article I came across that talked about the changing dynamic of Born Again. Early discussions of development, like where did the showrunners and the producers want to take the show? Did they want to have it mainly be a courtroom drama, or did they want to focus on Matt Murdock, Matt Daredevil vigilanteism? It disjointed. Like they were coming out with one episode, then going, okay, let's do this instead, or let's move it in this direction instead. No, this is not quite right. We need to do this instead. You could tell that there is a loss of focus on here. And Jason Fox's comment here: Born Again, the first two episodes, well done. Third one, decent. But right after that, it lost a point, in my view. Yeah, it was all over. There were shoots and reshoots, pacing problems. It was all over the place, I felt like. Does it have room for improvement? Yeah, but they're taking their time with it. I'm already 7 episodes into it, and we're just now seeing Matt don the costume of Daredevil, like 5 or 6 episodes into it. It's like, okay, he's gone. Okay, I'm not. After Foggy was killed off, a year transpired, and Matt found himself kind of swearing off vigilanteism as a whole, going like, I will never again wear the costume, and my best friend was killed, so on, so on, so on. Drives a wedge between him and Karen. Karen moves from New York to California, which is another jarring development in the show because, like I said, you get rid of a perfectly good core cast of main characters, with the exception of Daredevil and Wilson Fisk, which, I have my problems with Wilson Fisk. Oh boy, do I have my problems with him. That being said, the actors, of course, the two main actors for Fisk and Matt Murdock, they're great. I mean, every time we see Fisk and Matt on the screen, I love the interaction. I love the dynamic between them. It's not quite what it was in the Netflix show, but I'd say it might be 70, 80% there. It's like those two actors are carrying this show. The replacement characters for Matt's love interest and his substitute best friend, the private investigator working for the law firm he's working for, they are not good substitutes for Foggy and Karen, which is unfortunately sad. Now, moving on to, let's see, another thing I had a problem with the show. I kind of, in some ways, this is a very odd show. I liked watching, well, I didn't quite like watching it. There were some episodes I think I enjoyed more than the others. I'd say it's half and half at this point. I'm like 7 episodes in, and I think there's only 3, maybe 3.5 episodes that I really enjoyed. Otherwise, the character dynamics, they've changed to the point where the characters are not the characters they were from the Netflix series. I mean, I have no idea the time frame between season 3, the events that ended on season 3, and the events on episode 1 of Born Again. We have no sense of the time scale between season 3 and Born Again. Was it a year? Was it 2 years? Was it 3? Was it 5? Was the stupid in-game 5-year blip, did that take place between Netflix season 3 and Born Again? We have no idea what transpired timeline wise between these two seasons, between these two shows. And that's really reflected, I believe, in the character of Wilson Fisk. We have Wilson Fisk, who is still there. He still is a powerhouse character, but he's not like he was. He's not as commanding. He's not a commanding presence like he was in the Netflix show. Lots of happens. A lot of things have happened. The show really doesn't make it clear what has happened between Netflix and Born Again. I kind of get the sense that the character of Wilson Fisk is kind of beaten down. He's more reserved. He's more composed. He's not as sure of himself as he was in the Netflix series, which is kind of odd because you expect somebody, a character like Wilson Fisk, to be in charge all the time. Instead, we get Wilson Fisk coming back, and we find that some time has passed, and his marriage to Vanessa has, for some reason, suffered. Now, this is kind of off-putting because the viewing audience is not shown any of this. We have no idea the events that have happened off screen. We have no idea why he is estranged and their marriage to Vanessa. The Vanessa character has also changed. She has become taken on more of a leadership role with, I guess, the remnants of Kingpin's criminal empire. But again, this is not really explained. There's nothing here that explains where the characters are at this point in time. There is nothing that really delves into this. We are shown Wilson Fisk desiring to become, I don't know, mayor or whatever. He's seeking political office. Don't quite get the motivation for that, except that maybe he wants to evolve as a character, go from criminal underworld leader to genuinely wanting to help the citizens of the city, which I guess is okay. I think it could have been approached differently. Very strange to see Kingpin take on that role. Also, it is what we have between Vanessa and Kingpin, their estranged marriage. That is jarring. That took me by surprise. That was rather rather jarring, because we're not really explain. That's not really explained to the viewer and the audience why that happened, how that happened. All of that happened, and events that led up to this show. We're left guessing. We're left trying to figure it out. It's it's things like this kind of annoy me with TV shows, because I see it as wasted potential. There is potential here for great storytelling, but if you don't follow through with it, then the opportunity is wasted. Overall, it's uneven. It kind of hits the audience wrong. I can appreciate the effort. I can appreciate where they're trying to take the show, what they're trying to do with it. They're trying to do their own thing, Disney, that is. They're trying to do something different from Netflix, which I can understand. I kind of like the effort Netflix put into it. It's hard to find fault with those 3 seasons. This one, I don't know how many episodes are left. 3, 4, 5 episodes? I have no idea. I just saw episode 7 a few nights back, waiting for the next episode to drop. And I have absolutely no idea where they're taking it. As far as Matt getting back into his Daredevil role, it felt kind of forced. It felt like he had no other option. It was like, okay, I'm going to be Daredevil again as a matter of last resort. It's like, okay, I don't want to do anything to really help the city. I'll just sideline myself and let crime get out of hand. I don't believe this really follows through with the character. Now, as far as plot lines out of the comic books, I was never really a big Daredevil reader, so I'm not too familiar with the storylines or what they're trying to accomplish with this. It's kind of interesting. Someday I may go back and read up on some of the old storylines that follow the series and see where they went to it, where they strayed, where they tried something new. Let's see. Where do I want to go to next? There was oops. Wrong button. Before I get into one of the articles tonight, the last point I wanted to make, I might as well get right into this article. There was one last point I really noticed about Daredevil Born Again. Matt doesn't rely on his faith as much. I'm not really seeing it in this show like we saw it in the Netflix series. The character, Matt Murdock, Daredevil, he was all about being a Catholic, being a Christian, and we saw his conflicts, his struggle between being a vigilante and trying to balance that with his faith, always questioning himself, always going, where is he going to cross the line? Where is he going to take that? And it's something I could really appreciate, seeing a character go over their faith, question their faith, work things out, trying to find a balance in their life. It was really interesting to see that played out in the Netflix show. And the Disney series, not so much. We see this, I don't want to say distance, there's little bits here and there, but it's not like it was in the old season, old series. So, what I have here, this is a Collider article. DareDevil Born Again review. We wanted Matt Murdock back, but not like this. This is March 5th of 2025, of course. Let's see. As the article starts, what do you get when you take a street level hero who is constantly battling his own demons, yank him out of the grounded world he lives in, and throw him into the MCU's interpretation of that world? You get Daredevil Born Again. When Daredevil first came out in 2015, it was a gritty look at the titular character, Marvel hero we hadn't seen before. Not only that, but it kind of shrugged in the direction of the existing MCU. This is a pretty good point, because we had something that was not only out there, that was good, that was enjoyable. It kind of existed in the MCU, but it didn't really exist in that realm. It was something that we'd go, okay, all these things kind of exist in the world, but we're also getting this self-contained character who has his own battles to deal with. There were references to the Battle of New York here and there as the article continues, but ultimately it was a contained story. The way the series balanced themes of justice, revenge, and morality was critically praised, and the way that Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock struggled to seek justice during the day as a lawyer and justice at night as a masked vigilante set the standard for what people wanted from Marvel, but we may never really get from Disney. But anyway, that's my aside. When it came to the street level heroes, there was also much praise to the fantastic action sequences. Oh, goodness, yes. That's another thing. Before I started watching Daredevil Born Again, I kept hearing people comment about the fight scenes, going, oh, how incredible they were, how awesome they were. It's like, okay, I can't wait to check this series out. And then I watched the first episode of Born Again, and of course, the first 10 minutes, you destroy the character dynamic of Matt, Foggy, and Karen. You kill off a pretty major character. And then you have this CGI action sequences that people were going on and on about. And it's like, it wasn't landing with me. I was not getting drawn into it, because I kept watching it going, well, that's a CGI character doing a backflip and jump off the wall. This felt fake. It felt, it took me out of it. It took me out of the show. Now contrast this with the Netflix's show, the fight scenes in that, notably the hallways. If I say hallway scene, everyone who has seen the Netflix show will know what I'm talking about. The hallway fight scene. The fight scenes in Netflix's Daredevil felt raw. They were visceral. You could feel the punches landing. You could see Matt figuring out his way around and how to fight, relying on his senses and his environment, from people walking down the hallway to chains rattling to people shuffling around. You got a sense of him feeling it out, figuring out, fighting his way around all these different combatants and whatnot. It was raw, it was visceral, it landed with the audience. Seeing the fight scenes and Born Again very much took me out of it. I could tell they really wanted to capture that feeling, but yeah, it's like night and day. There's no real comparison between the action sequences, what we have of them in Daredevil Born Again, to the Netflix's take on the series. That's not to say there might be room for improvement in the remaining episodes. That might happen. I hope to be surprised by it. I really hope that the show picks up. Let's see, where is this article going? I'm reading this article cold. I just came across this earlier today. Let's see. After its cancellation and eventual wiping of the Marvel TV shows from that era, which is unfortunate for Disney because I think they took a few steps backwards. Fans clamored for more of Cox's Daredevil. And when the MCU announced that they were bringing back Cox as Daredevil for his own series on Disney Plus, the hype began to build. However, would the MCU be able to live up to the original Netflix Marvel show? Would it be able to mimic or improve on the formula built by its predecessors? The short answer is, unfortunately, no, not really. They really wanted to, but as I scroll down this article, Daredevil Born Again doesn't know what it wants to be. And this is a big takeaway from my impression of Disney's Daredevil. You could tell it's rough, it's uneven, it's patchy. Do they know where they want to take it? Do they know what do they want it to be? Do they want it to be a courtroom drama, procedural type show? I mean, if you want to do that, then just copy, I don't know what's out there. LA Law, I have no idea. Boston Legal, any other myriad of courtroom dramas out there? Do they want to make it like She-Hulk? I have no idea. I'm kind of glad it didn't turn out like that. But anyway, major problem, as the article continues, the major problem at the heart of Daredevil Born Again, show run by Dario Scard. It's been a long day for people with crazy names. I do apologize. Dario S. I will simply say Dario S. Is that it doesn't know what it wants to be. The show struggles with whether it wants to fully lean into the tone of the former show or the more familiar MCU formula. And what we get is something kind of in between here, which is really, really odd. Oh, boy. Now, there's a lot to be said, as the article goes, for the TV shows that came from the MCU in recent years. There's been major successes like WandaVision and Loki. Okay, article, if you say so. You lost me there. WandaVision is a whole other topic for another time because, no. Anyway, I'm jumping around this article because, let's see. On the one hand, it's obvious that Marvel is trying to recapture some of the magic from the previous series with Cox and Vincent D being brought back already as Matt and Wilson Fisk, respectively, and other MCU properties before this. Yeah, yeah. It's crazy. You bring back the original cast just long enough to destroy the character dynamic between the three of them, kill off Foggy, have Karen Page estranged and pushed away by Matt to the point where she leaves New York and travels across the country to California. I mean, she might as well travel to like Japan for this matter. It doesn't really matter at this point because you take some excellent casting, you get rid of them, and then you bring in substitute characters. Born Again has a new cast, new stories, but carries old baggage. And we go into the plot line of Matt defending a character who turns out to be a vigilante type character. Introduce him as the character White Tiger, only long enough to kill that character off. Now, this paragraph I thought was really good. The result is jarring. Replacing his old compatriots, Matt has a new girlfriend, new coworkers, and a new life. He's hung up to proverbial cape, and he doesn't even live in Hell's Kitchen anymore. He's dating a new character, a therapist who doesn't have much love for vigilantes, while his new coworkers consist of Cherry, an ex-cop, and Christine, a fellow lawyer who is a former ADA. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Wilson Fisk is reunited with his wife Vanessa and is now running for mayor of New York. At his side is the thirsty Daniel Blake and Sheila Rivera, his campaign manager and general right-hand woman. He's also got Buck Cashman, who you can essentially view as his lackey, bodyguard, and the guy who does most of the dirty work. Yeah. Born Again misses the point of what made the original Daredevil so good. The Matt Murdock of Born Again is a man who has survived a tragedy, being blind and as a child in that rather unfortunate accident, saving somebody. He's focused on finding justice in the courtroom rather than the streets. But gone is a contemplative man who struggled with both his Catholicism and an inherent violent nature that filled him with a desire for revenge. This was another thing I really noticed in the Disney series and talked about earlier in the live stream. His Catholicism, the character's religion, is a big part of the character. And when you're taking that character trait away from him, it's just another vigilante. You might as well just make him generic vigilante superhero number 6 or something like that. Matt Murdock, as the article goes, is probably one of the most religious characters in this universe, and his faith was a major part of his identity in the original series. The lack of desire to actually dig into the same nitty-gritty details is one of the most glaring issues with Born Again. You get plenty of headshots and violent fights, but none of the weight that should accompany those. In fact, the series makes a point of barely linger in these areas. They try. I mean, there's parts where you can see they really want to bring that in or really touch on the weight of it. But like I said earlier, Vincent and Charlie Cox as in their respective roles as Matt and Wilson Fisk, they're carrying this show on their shoulders. Anytime these two are on screen, whether separately or uh, across from one another, this is really where it really gets good. Thankfully, Daredevil Born Again still delivers on powerful performances. Similarly, D'Onofrio always stands out in his portrayal of Fisk, able to harness some of the one-note villainy that he picked up in his other MCU cameos and blend it with his original interpretation of the character. It's not perfect, but he is often the most magnetic character to watch on screen. He was in Netflix, and he, for the most part, is in this show. This is not the same Wilson Fisk as we've had in the early series. Let's see. As I read articles like this and others, I kind of get the impression that we're going to see more of John Bernthal. Of course, we have Bernthal come back as the Punisher, Frank Castle. We get a brief few scenes of Bernthal here and there as he's talking about stuff going on around Matt and what happened to Foggy. That was a nice little dynamic between them. Nice to see them both on screen again. This time not in so much of an adversarial role, but something for Matt to have somebody to debate with in some sense, like where he's going, oh, what I'm doing in the city is not really helping. And Frank Castle's like, well, maybe you should put the costume back on and run around the neighborhood. When it comes to action and story, Daredevil Born Again can't measure up. That's probably the best. That's kind of like the end of this article, really. And that's probably a good point to end my little diatribe on Daredevil Born Again. It really tries, but it just doesn't add up. Now, we still have a few episodes to go in the show, so maybe they can change course in the remaining episodes, ever how many there are. 2, 3, 4. If this is going to be like a 10-episode season or a 12-episode season, I have no idea. I haven't really looked into it. I imagine it's probably going to be just 10 episodes. So there's 2 episodes left. 3 episodes? Yeah, whatever. Honestly, I've tried getting into it. The first 2 episodes were pretty good, in spite of the things that really annoyed me. The first 10 minutes of episode 1, I almost shut it off and went to something else. But I pushed through to see what the ramifications of them killing off Foggy were. By episode 2, I was pretty much done with it. I had to force myself through episode 3 and force myself through episode 4. Beyond that, I really don't remember. That's another thing. Born Again fails in the point that it commits the biggest TV sin out there is it's not memorable. Those of us who have seen the Netflix shows, Netflix seasons, those were memorable. Born Again, not so much. There's not much in Born Again that I really remember. I remember the big moments in like the first episode or two, the few things going on in 3 or 4. But I honestly, I honestly cannot tell you what happened in episode 5, 6. Oh yes, yes, that new serial killer. There's a new serial killer coming on the scene that is like uh, being all gross and killing people and using their blood to paint murals. Hence his serial killer name of Muse in the show. I honestly forgot about him. It's like, oh yeah, something happened. Matt put on the costume again and was chasing down a bad guy. I honestly forgot that the main villain or the secondary. Oh goodness. Now, like I said, this show is not memorable, or it's memorable for all the wrong reasons. I guess that's probably a good way of putting it. It's there, it exists, it had wasted potential. There's still potential in the remaining episodes for it to do a course correction and really surprise me, but I leave room to be disappointed. I don't want to be overly critical. There were parts of it I enjoyed. I enjoyed seeing most of the cast back as they were. But beyond that, Born Again is kind of hollow. Unfortunately, it's not what I was hoping for. Better than other MCU small screen efforts. I'll give it that. I'm enjoying it a lot more than say Hawkeye or Loki. I'm enjoying it a whole heck of a lot more than WandaVision, which I have so many problems with WandaVision. But yeah, it's this show. Not bad. It's really trying. It's what they're trying to do with it. I am not entirely certain. I've got a few episodes left, and I'm hoping to be pleasantly surprised by it. Now then, I've been rambling on here not quite an hour. That brings my diatribe of my little chat of Daredevil Born Again to an end. I'm going to shift gears here, and while I'm talking about comic book related TV shows, I thought it'd be kind of neat to share with everyone an article I came across on other comic book universes, which is actually kind of neat because everyone knows Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. Everyone knows the Avengers, Captain America, Iron Man. Like these are the pillars of DC and Marvel, but there are other comic book universes out there, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time digging into that because some of them I knew and some of them I did not know or was unaware of. Let me see here as I try to get comfortable in my office chair that is creaking and falling apart. I'll eventually get a new office chair, but that's neither here nor there. Again, I want to thank you all for joining me tonight, whether live, lurking, or you catch me on a replay. I do appreciate your time and checking my live streams out. Again, shout out to Jason Fox from 540 Studios. Thank you for joining me tonight. Very good to see you all here. And let me see. The article. Oh, here we go. Ta-da! All right. Switching gears here. This is, what is this? This is Games Radar. Best non-Marvel, non-DC superhero universes. This goes back a number of years. This is by George Marston, published August 31st of 2022. And I was, let me enlarge this article here. Is that too big? Nope, that looks about right. Let's see. Best non-Marvel DC superhero universes. There are superhero worlds to celebrate in comics outside of DC and Marvel, and these are the best, according to this article. And as I scroll down, let me try and get the. I guess that's good overall. As the article starts, did you know there are superhero universes other than the DC and Marvel Comics ones? Yeah, I was kind of aware of them. Not all of these, all of the ones that this article covers, but this is a nice jumping point because while everybody talks about their favorite Marvel or DC superhero TV shows and or movies, it's interesting to take some time and look at what else is out there. With the continued multimedia domination of heroes from the big two, think Spider-Man No Way Home, The Batman, Moon Knight, and She-Hulk, it's easy to forget not all superheroes get to pal around with icons of the Justice League or the Avengers. Believe it or not, they do exist and even thrive, as this article says. And number 10 on this list, I get the sense that this is a countdown type list, like 10 to 1. There at number 10 is the Millar World by Mark Millar, comic book creator. Mark Millar's Mark Millar's Millar World is less a cohesive superhero universe and more of a banner for the writer's various projects with top-notch artists, which aren't limited to superhero stories. This is pretty cool because I did not know some of these were part of the Millar World universe. But to discount Millar World's importance to the superhero genre would be a mistake. Between stories like Wanted, Kick-Ass, both adapted into feature films, Superior, and Nemesis, Millar's superhero fare has become something of a modern zeitgeist for the deconstruction of superhero comic books, which I'm not a big fan of deconstructing superhero mythos, but some do it better than others. And didn't know, well, at the time when I watched Wanted, I did not know that was based on a comic book. I knew Kick-Ass was, but I really, at the time, did not know just where it fit until I later became aware of Mark Millar and his comic book universe. Netflix now owns Millar World, and while the streaming giant's first adaptation, Jupiter's Legacy, only got one season, it is publishing new Millar World comic books like 2018's The Magic Order and planning more TV series and movies based on some of the Scottish-born creator's new and most popular works, including The Return of Nemesis, which I'm not sure if I know what Nemesis is or not. I know what Jupiter's Legacy is because I quite enjoyed Jupiter's Legacy. I really wanted to see more of it, and then Netflix canceled it, which is unfortunate because I thought that was a really great take on the superhero mythos. I tried opening this link into another tab, but it wouldn't open. Anyway, Jupiter's Legacy is worth a shot if you've never checked it out on Netflix before. I believe they may still have it up. I quite enjoyed it, and I was really disappointed when they made the announcement that it was canceled. I only got one season. It's one of the shows that I started, got into, and really wanted to see more of. Kick-Ass was fun. Wanted was okay. I remember all three of these films. I have no idea what Nemesis is. I'm going to have to spend some time digging into that, see what that's all about. Let's see. Scrolling down, number 9 on this list, King Features. All right. Though the characters of King Features comic strips and serials ride the line between superheroes and pulp, it's impossible to deny the impact that characters like the Phantom, Flash Gordon, and Mandrake the Magician have had on modern superhero comic books. That's cool. The Phantom was a fun film. An older film, but yeah, that was fun. And done right, I'd love to see more pulp heroes on the big and small screen. Mainly on the small screen. I think there's more room for superheroes and, well, for this matter, pulp heroes to really grow on the small screen. Give them 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons. Great opportunities for growth and storytelling. Of course, we may never get a decent Flash Gordon TV show. There was one, but lots of us who have seen it refuse to even talk about it or address it. Unfamiliar with Mandrake the Magician. But these are characters that are probably right for the time to be brought into live action adaptations. And what this article said, Netflix now owns Millar World. This article does not say who owns King Features comic strips. Though we weren't exactly part of a shared universe in King's heyday, modern interpretations, including titles, Dynamite, including titles from Dynamite Comics, have treated King's Mystery Men, okay, pulp heroes and sci-fi adventurers like parts of a whole, uniting them both in print and on screen. Was Mystery Men... Is that the same as the one I'm thinking of? That's interesting. I'll have to dig into that later. Who can forget the 80s Defenders of the Earth cartoon that brought them together from individual stories into a kind of pulp Avengers? I am going to have to look that up. I was unaware of that. Okay. 80s Defenders of the Earth cartoon. Interesting. All right. Mental note. Let's scroll down. Wildstorm. Number 8. Jim Lee's Wildstorm is one of several universes that was acquired and integrated into the DC universe on our list, but for many years it was its own company and universe, tangentially tied to Image. Yeah, that's crazy to even think that Wildstorm is not part of, well, it's crazy to think Wildstorm is now part of DC and not Image, but okay. And as the article goes, the one thing that really separates Wildstorm from DC and other superhero universes is the imprint's commitment to challenging the perceptions of modern superheroes while also embracing classic tropes, from Wildcats to Planetary and the Authority, and its predecessor Stormwatch, the Wildstorm universe has always come across as a bleeding edge cyberpunk version of superhero comic books that always has something new to say or a way to say it that has never been said before. I honestly don't know how I feel about thinking about these characters like Midnighter, Grifter, and the Wildcats being part of DC. That is a very odd fit. Now, will we ever see Image, Wildstorm, live action adaptations? Well, beyond what we've already seen out there, like the Spawn movie from Image Spawn character. That's interesting. Something to really think about. Like I just can't imagine. I can't wrap my mind around that. Seeing live action versions of these characters, from what I remember of them from way back in the day, back in the heyday of Image during the early 90s, they're definitely grittier and edgier than comic book fare. Jason saying, yeah, this is odd. This is odd indeed. Anyway, moving right along with this article, Milestone, number 7 on this list. This was something I was kind of unaware of. Milestone was founded by Dwayne McDuffie, Denise Cohen, Michael Davis, and Derek Dingle in 1993 as a publisher focused on creating superhero comic books that better reflected their experiences as African Americans. Okay, cool. This I was reading this earlier. Well, I was reading this last week and thinking this was really cool. I'm going to touch on in a future live stream, I'm going to touch on the politics of pop culture, things we see trend wise and pop culture, whether it's live action TV shows, movies, or comic books. And I'm going to discuss in that live stream to come the trope of race and or gender swapping and how insane it is, because I'm generally against race and or gender swapping. I think the time and effort you take in race swapping a character from comic book to live stream, you could actually take that time, energy, and effort into creating your own original comic book character or live action character. And here is a company that has done just that. This company is to be applauded for this. They have focused on creating their own original characters, quickly finding its footing as a go-to for superheroes and stories readers couldn't find anywhere. Milestone was distributed through DC Comics. I think I remember some of those titles way back when. Its Dakota universe was wholly independent of the publisher's other superhero books. They initially lasted 4 years, giving rise to a successful animated series in Static Shock. Aha, maybe that's what I remember from it. And earning a place for itself in comic book history in 2010, DC relaunched a Milestone character as part of its fully integrated superhero universe, where they stayed for several years, with Static in particular playing a big role in the DC universe. Okay, the New 52 relaunch. Okay, that's kind of where I remember it from, I think. But yeah, Milestone characters were dropped from DC's line after a few years. The publisher revived Milestone again in 2021 as a separate superhero universe populated solely by the Milestone characters. This is cool. I actually want to spend some time digging into this comic book universe, because this, I applaud them for taking the time to create original characters as opposed to taking characters out there and race and or gender swapping them to fit a narrative. But like I said, in a future live stream, I will touch on this more and expand on that even further. Okay, cool. I applaud you guys for doing something new, different, and creative. Well done, guys. Super. Number 6 on the list, Archie's Red Circle. This one I was not aware of before I read this article. Archie's 19 heroes, sometimes called the Red Circle or currently Dark Circle heroes, are as weird as they are memorable, based on simple elemental concepts. Characters like the Shield, the Fly, the Fox, the Web, the Comet, and more aren't what you'd call household names. But for their fans and devotees, they are as iconic as any Marvel or DC hero, and inspired a few of the big twos even. Well, that's interesting. Many fans remember the characters from Rimco's Mighty Crusaders toy line in the 80s. Wow, okay, they've been around that long, which brought the heroes and their equally odd villains to plastic three-dimensional life under the name of Archie's Answer to the Avengers or JLA. That's interesting. I was not aware of this comic book universe. It's good to see a new and unique, well, not new, but unique comic book universes out there populated with characters that just didn't strike the mainstream. I mean, when we think about comic book characters, everyone flocks to Marvel or DC or possibly Image. My mainstay will always be Valiant as the little publisher that could and did in the early 90s. Valiant Verse was fantastic way back when. Oh, and Jason Fox saying, don't know how to feel about this. That's cool. You're referring to the Milestone or the Wildstorm? Archie's Red Circle characters. What's next? Oh, number 5 is Fawcett. Okay, these characters, well, one of them looks familiar. I don't know about the others. Fawcett's most lasting contribution to the world of superheroes is, of course, Shazam, Captain America, or Captain Marvel rather, the real Captain Marvel. And quite frankly, that's enough to earn the defunct publisher a place on this list. Oh, it's defunct. Oh, that is unfortunate. Oh, Jason's saying Wildstorm and stuff like that. Yeah, Wildstorm being part of DC. Yeah, I'm not quite sure about that myself. When Captain Marvel, who, thanks to trademark weirdness, now goes by simply Shazam, magic word, blah, 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 blah. Yes, long day. Yes. The magic word that turns the young Billy Batson into an adult superhero was in his heyday. His comic book was outselling even Superman, prompting a lawsuit that is the stuff of comic book legend, in which DC, then National Comics, proved Captain Marvel was infringing on the intellectual property of Superman. Yay, whatever. But more than the landmark legal case, Shazam's ability to survive after subsequently being acquired by National DC, and for him and his supporting characters, Captain Marvel Jr., Mary Marvel, Black Adam, to become an integral part of its universe, proved that this kind of integration of characters could occur. Interesting. I've never really dug into some of the older books or older comic book publishers. I'm guessing Fawcett was a publisher from the 40s, 50s, earlier. I was not aware of them. I was aware of Captain Marvel, Shazam, and the legal scuffling between them and DC and what happened from there. Let's see. Fawcett's other top characters outside of the Marvel family and villains, Black Adam and Dr. Shavina, Bullet Man, Bullet Girl, and Spy Smasher, also found their way into DC lore. Though it's hard to put them on the same level as the Marvels. Shazam got his own solo film in March 2019 and has a 2023 sequel. Oh, this is an older article, of course. It will be preceded by Dwayne Johnson's much anticipated Black Adam in 2022. Yeah, this is an older article. Anyway, and number 4 on this list, Charlton. Most modern fans know Charlton Comics as a defunct company whose heroes were acquired and integrated into the DC was buying up characters left and right, weren't they? Some of whom served as the inspiration for the characters of arguably the greatest comic book story of all time, The Watchmen. Okay. So if this image is connected to Charlton Comics, I'm guessing these characters were Charlton characters before being acquired by DC. But in its golden years, Charlton was a powerhouse in the comic book publishing world, known both for its sometimes less than savior business practices toward creators and for publishing, printing, and distributing its own comic books rather than relying on a third party for any of these functions. That's cool, I guess. Charlton is best known for heroes like Steve Ditko's version of the Blue Beetle, himself originally from Fox Publications, Nightshade, Captain Atom, The Question. Oh, I do enjoy The Question. That was a good character. And others, most of whom are still active as part of the DC universe after being integrated in the mid 80s. A lot of stuff was happening in the 70s and 80s. Let's see here. Had to hit the cough button there because allergies are being allergies. My airborne adversaries, the allergies that make my head stuffy and whatnot. But that is an aside. Let's scroll down. Number 3 on the list, and my favorite of all the independent publishers out there, Valiant. Here we go. The meat of the article, well, as far as I'm concerned. Sometimes marketing itself as the third largest superhero universe after Marvel and DC, and rightfully so, I believe, Valiant had a somewhat strange history, having been shuttered and relaunched a few times since its founding in 1989, which included licensing the Western Gold Key characters Magnus, Turok, and Dr. Solar by former Marvel editor-in-chief Jim Shooter and his former business partner Stephen Mazarski. I do apologize for butchering the name, but Jim Shooter and Stephen M. launched Valiant, and that was I enjoyed just about every book from early Valiant, from 89 to like 92. That publisher was firing on all cylinders. Great cast of characters, great books, great artwork by the artist whose name is blanking on me right now, Barry Windsor Smith, I'm going to say. Yeah, it's just Jim Shooter, Barry Windsor Smith. those titles, those characters, those books were great. As the article continues, oh, I see in the chat DJ Ronnie G. Hello there. Good to see you in the chat this evening. Hello there. Thank you for joining me tonight. Let's see. Since a relaunch in 2012, however, the publisher has staked out a claim as one of the most integrated and consistent meta narratives and modern comic books, anchored by original Valiant characters and concepts such as Harbinger, Bloodshot, Eternal Warrior, Exo-Man of War, Faith, and more. Valiant had the best-selling independent superhero crossover in the last decade with 2015's Book of Death, which I am honestly not familiar with. I started rereading or reading some of the titles from Valiant's relaunch in the late 90s, early 2000s, and was not impressed. Then I started reading some of the stuff from the relaunch in 2012, and again, not really impressed with where they were going company wise. Somewhere along the way, between being bought and sold, and bought and sold again, they lost the rights to some of the characters like Turok, Magnus, and Dr. Solar, I do believe. So they're having to rely on some of the characters they still had the rights to, or some of the original characters they created and have the rights to, like Bloodshot, Eternal Warrior, Harbingers. Some of the storylines they did with Exo-Man of War from the early 90s to the late 90s, early 2000s, and mid 2000s, 2012, that era, I really didn't like. It's like, what all can you do to one character that kind of changes his origin, changes his makeup, changes his mythos behind him? It was kind of weird. Let's see. The Valiant Universe saw its first live action adaptation in 2020 with the release of Bloodshot, starring Vin Diesel. I have never sat through that movie. I am aware of it. I remember watching the trailer to it when it came out in 2020. I like Vin Diesel as an action star, but just watching that trailer to Bloodshot is like, no. They've miscast. Sorry, Vin. I like you and the other movies you've done, but you didn't really fit the comic book character of Bloodshot. And the trailer alone is like, this is, oh, I'm not sure about it. Anyway, I don't know. If I have a couple of hours to kill in the near future, I may sit down and find Bloodshot streaming someplace and watch it. But yeah, it's so far, I believe that was the only live action shot at a Valiant cinematic universe. I want to say Sony owns, or maybe Sony owns Valiant. I don't know who owns Valiant at this point. I was trying to keep up with them last year and the year before, and at one point they were down to publishing one book a month, which is kind of sad from a publisher that was at one point competing with the likes of Marvel, DC, and Image in the early 90s. As this article continues, despite never reaching its early 90s heyday, still continues to publish new titles based on its most popular properties. I think at one point, like a year ago, when I was keeping up with Valiant at that time, a year ago, they were putting out one book a month. But maybe they can turn it around. Whoever owns Valiant at this time is like, I keep having this daydream, this dream that if I ever won the lottery and had stupid money, I would buy Valiant as a company and secure the rights to all the characters they had in the early 90s. Surround myself with the right writers, the right people to adapt all those books to live action TV efforts. That would be a killer cinematic universe if it was done right. Oh, I see in a chat, Lemon Pie. Hello, Lemon Pie. Good to see you tonight. Thanks for dropping by. Very cool to see you here. As I am going through this article of the this is a Games Radar article, best non-Marvel, non-DC superhero universes, and it's been like a top 10, as it were, starting off with Malar World, King Features, Wildstorm, Milestone, which is cool in concept, Archie's Red Circle, which I was really unaware of, Fawcett Publishing. Number 4 was Charlton. Number 3 is my favorite of all time, Valiant. Let's see. Let's scroll down here to see what number 2 is. Number 2, Hellboy. Mignola Verse, which is cool. Mike Mignola's Mignolaverse, as its fans have come to call it, isn't quite the traditional superhero fare, but it might as well be. Anchored by the supernatural monster fighter mystery solver Hellboy. Those are some excellent movies with Ron Perlman. And has equally weird and well-appointed compatriots such as Abe Sapien and Lobster Johnson of the BPRD, the Dark Horse published. Dark Horse had some pretty good comics back in the day. I don't know what they're publishing now, but these books published by them, self-contained world with its own mythology, mindset, and presence in today's comic book landscape. The Mignolaverse started in 1993, focused entirely on Hellboy and a supporting cast. In the 28 years since, the Hellboy mythos has spawned countless spin-offs and tie-ins, movies, and even survived the death of its flagship character, who has since returned, though the contemporary adventures of the BPRD also subsequently wrapped. Which is fun. I quite enjoyed those first 2 Hellboy movies. Ron Perlman, I do believe that. Yeah, Ron Perlman as the title character. That was pretty good. I have not seen the other Hellboy movies. I don't know how they fare compared to the first 2. I may eventually get around to checking those out. This Mignolaverse really strikes me as really small in comparison, say, Wildstorm or Valiant or some of these others, but being notable on its impact on pop culture, number 2 on this list is pretty good. I think that's pretty good. I would be tempted to swap Valiant with Mignolaverse if I were to compose this list, but that's just me. Number 1, of course, Image. Really no surprise at this point. Image, number 1. To understand how important and electric the formation of Image Comics was in the early 90s, it's important to understand the sheer audacity it took for Marvel's top artists to leave not just a publisher, but all major publishers behind and start their own company. And really, that was one of the biggest things that happened 90, 91, 92. That was like seismic earthquake movements in the comic book world at that time. That not only worked, but has become the indelible top of the non-Big 2 heap, is a testament to the acumen and talent of the creators involved. But Image started with a big idea that all of its creators individual series could cross over and share connections despite being wholly independently owned by their creators. Todd McFarlane's Spawn, Rob Liefeld's Youngblood, Eric Larson's Savage Dragon, Jim Valentino's Shadowhawk, Mark Silvestri's Cyberforce, and more shared important connections among their stories and built a rich world that felt totally unique compared to Marvel and DC, and which spoke to fans in a way that other comic books at that time could not. And at that time, they also had a crossover with Valiant. Um, Valiant Image crossover. The name escapes me at the moment. I'll probably think of it later tonight before I go to bed. But yeah, anyway, though most of these classic Image titles still exist in some capacity, they aren't as connected as they once were. And now infamous late 2006 issue limited series Image United that attempted to revive the shared universe concept published 3 issues. After a decade of delays and subsequent promises and attempts to complete it, the remainder of the series was ultimately abandoned. Robert Kirkman, Ryan Oatley, and Corey Walker's Invincible was the last to carry the shared image universe torch. Although that series grew into a large superhero universe in its own right, adapted into as Amazon Prime Video animated series, which I've actually started the first episode. Not sure if I'm going to continue with it because I don't know if it's quite the series I want to get into. The comic book concluded in 2018, which is interesting. 2021, McFarlane launched the Spawn universe, a shared universe populated solely, at least for now, of characters from the Spawn titles that may find itself on this list someday. And of course, as far as live action adaptations go, there is that Spawn live action movie. I have not kept up with the Image universe. I don't know if there are any rumblings out there for any live action adaptations of these Image characters. I do believe Spawn is still in publication. Savage Dragon, Eric Larson's Savage Dragon, is still going. That has to be like one of the longest running, continuously published comic book titles, or one of the ones that share that distinction. I have forgotten most of these other characters, but if they'll ever make the leap into live action adaptations, it will be interesting to see. Let me see here. This was a fun article. This was a fun article to read. I caught this article a week or so, a couple of weeks back. Read through it. Genuinely surprised by some of these characters I was unaware of, and some that I kind of want to look up and read up on to see where they are now. Some of the defunct publishers, like, what was it? King Features. I don't know if it's defunct or not, but one of these was defunct. I want to say it was Fawcett Publishing. Some of these came and went when they did and was bought up by DC, absorbed into DC's comic book universe. Yeah, this was a fun article to read. It's interesting to think of some of these universes out there that aren't tied to Marvel, aren't tied to DC, that could be successful in their own right if they were handled correctly. And, well, if they're even adapted at all, that's the big key here. Let me see here. Where am I? Okay, I've been rambling on here for over an hour and a half. Getting close to midnight my time, so I'm going to wrap up the show for tonight. Let me see. I want to thank you all for joining me tonight. First out of the gate, joining me tonight, Jason's Fox from 540 Studio, as we were talking about my thoughts on the Daredevil Born Again show. Thank you for joining me tonight. Very cool to see you in the chat. Dun, dun, dun. Who else? Oh, yes. DJ Ronnie G. Very cool to see you in the chat. Thank you for joining me. Followed by Lemon Pie. Very cool to see you in the chat as well. Thank you all for joining me. Let me see. It's been a while since I have live streamed, so I am trying to find all the buttons. Like, oh, what's this button do? Why does this button? Where does this button go? What does this button do? Theme going here. Play me out for the evening. I want to thank you all again. All of you who caught me alive. Everyone out there lurking. And everyone who catches me on replay. Thank you. I appreciate you spending your time checking my show out. Let's see. This is an experiment. I'm moving from Monday night and Wednesday night to possibly Tuesday night and Thursday nights. Or if I have fuel in the tank, I might do Wednesday night. I don't know what I'm doing. I make it up as I go along, really. Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, Thursday nights. You can also find me on Comic Relief Crusaders live streams on Tuesdays and Fridays. And I'm hoping to get back to a Saturday afternoon live stream where I talk about comic books and all things comic book related. But I will see how real life treats me and where I can fit my YouTubes in, my YouTube adventures and whatnot, my chats and all the things that I ramble on about. Anyway, I will leave you all with that. Thank you all so much for joining me tonight. Have a great rest of your week ahead. Until next time, everyone. Catch you all later.